On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, Mr. Von Doom is back in action, so we want to get his thoughts on the McKenzie Blackwood extension. And I thought the trade deadline was in March, but the Avs just keep dealing, and they keep dealing with the Predators. Let's talk about their latest acquisition. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. And make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. Make sure to subscribe to our subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below. And when you do, chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. All right, sir. Some things happen while you were away. I talked about it on a weekend episode. And the big news was McKenzie Blackwood's contract extension. I want to get your take on that. Like I said in the opening, more trades from the Avalanche, and we'll also get some listener questions because I don't know if the Avalanche are done dealing. I would think that they're not. You're probably going to get some deals here and there as it gets closer to the deadline, but because this happened with another trade for the Avalanche, we got people coming in saying like there should be more, and it should be these guys. And I don't know if you're gonna like the names that people are throwing out, but this happens when it comes to fans. They just want, if guys are not performing as well as they should be, get rid of them. And I think that's where we're at with some guys on the Avs.
Yeah, and you know what? I can't wait till we get to those conversations about the trades because I do have opinions as well. And when it comes to the McKenzie Blackwood news, I've been very curious because I've been on vacation, so I've been kind of hands off. I did watch the Utah game and celebrated with family. That was wonderful. Is there anyone who has an issue with this McKenzie Blackwood contract? I know there's a little bit of a bump. I know we were paying Georgie about 3.2, and you're going to be paying
3.4.
Yeah, 3.2,
yeah.
3.4. Yeah. Somewhere in that ballpark. You're paying a little bit more for Blackwood. It's about 5.25. What's the problem? Have you seen anything in net right now? Just with the lumber yard in net. The dramatic change in save percentage, how this team is playing. The Colorado Avalanche are sitting 11th in the league right now, knocking on the door of the Edmonton Oilers for the top, like sitting in the top 10. And from where this season started to where they're sitting now, and we talk about, and this doesn't take effect until next year.
Right.
So what is the big problem? You got your goalie that for 2 years, we screamed, trade Georgie. We got to do something about this goalie problem. And you do something about the goalie problem, and you pay the goalie problem, and it's a problem. Avalanche fans, this is what you wanted. You're not paying a Vezina. You're not paying $11 million, or you're not paying Shesterkin numbers for a goalie. You're getting good quality goaltending. If you want that, you have to pay for that. You can't. Look what you got for 3.4. Was that good? No. It's in San Jose.
You got 3.4 for 3.4.
Exactly. If you want good, you must pay for good. A little bit more for good.
Yeah.
Be happy with where the team is going because this is what you want.
I think the only hesitation people have is it just too soon? Like, is it too soon to give him that amount of money? But I think that's a legit question. Like that, you've only had him for a couple weeks, so I think that is a very valid question. My feeling on it was like it just has a different vibe with him in net. It does. I don't. You didn't get this with Georgiev. You didn't feel comfortable with him in net, and I mean, I know it's a short time span that you've had both of the Wood brothers, but You just get a different sense that they can do the job. They can do the heavy lifting. And sure, you're going to have some bumps in the road. That's true for any goalie in on any team. But I think that's where people would go is it too soon to give him that deal? Maybe you wanted to see a little bit more. I don't think the dollar amount. I said, on the episode that I did over the weekend, like I did think it was maybe just a little bit too much, but I'm not saying like it was a make or break for me. I didn't feel like they were so far out of the range that I was wanting them to sign him at. So I haven't really heard too much on that about the dollar amount. I think it's just the play. I think that's where if there's any kind of questioning the deal, is this real? Is it finally our guy? I think that's the thing for Avalanche fans. They wanted to make sure that we don't have to do this again in another year or two. And to sign him after only having him for 3 weeks, okay, like then you're saying he's our guy. I just don't want to have to come back to this in another year or two, like we did with Georgiev, and be like, okay, you know what, he's not our guy. So that's the only hesitation I would say people are having right now.
Well, I get that. We have been Avalanche fans. I get it. We have been burned when it comes to the second coming of a goalie. We've been saying this for 20 years since Wall walked out. This is our Wall replacement. We have been saying that for quite some time. And again, we say it all the time. This team won a Stanley Cup with Darcy Kemper in net. So we have done it with superior Hall of Fame talent and then NHL Network analysts. So you have to understand this early of signing the deal. One, it was around Christmas time. It's a cute little blurb to go out on social media. But it's a two-pronged thing. You don't have to hear about the Mikko deal and the Blackwood deal all year long, because that would get annoying and frustrating. And the other thing it brings to the Avalanche is confidence. It feels like, oh, not only has he been playing good, the front office thinks like this is it. So we know this is our goalie going forward for at least 5 years. You're crossing off the question marks of, oh, he had a great game. Tuesday night, they play against Winnipeg. What if he has a bad game? What if he lets in 2 goals, 3 goals? You're not going to be going, oh, is this our answer? Are we going to sign him? No, you know they are committed. And guess what? He knows they're committed to him too. So he could settle in and he can make those mistakes, but he can really prove that, hey, these guys are paying me. They're giving me a shot, and he could start stepping up. And it speaks twofold on that. And it's not too soon, because the Avs say, hey, this is our guy for the foreseeable future. So question answered, check. We're good to go.
Yeah, I kind of feel like you have to think of it as too that he was going to be an unrestricted free agent. And let's say he was never traded to the Avalanche, or you know what, even if he was traded to that, let's say it did happen, and then he goes to free agency. Someone is going to pay him what the Avalanche paid him, probably more.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more, because there's probably going to be a desperate team out there. And I haven't looked at free agents. I don't know what the goalie free agent market is, but we just know, like we've talked about on this show many times, you have your exceptional goalies, your 2 or 3 guys, and then really like the rest of the league. So if the goalie market is thin, and he could have been one of the big guys, he was going to be anyway. There was probably another team that maybe would have given him a little bit more than that. So the Avalanche locked him in, and you don't have to worry about, hey, if we put this off and he keeps playing this way, that number only increases. So they were comfortable at the number that they got him at. I feel like most people are comfortable with the number you got him at. You got him at a pretty decent term too, 5 years. So it's not like, hey, in 2 years we got to go either sign him again for maybe more, because if he's performing the way we want him to perform, we got to re-sign him again for more money. They feel like long term this is gonna benefit them, and I think overall the good of this deal, I feel like, outweighs the bad. There's always bad that could happen. I mean, that's with any deal, but I feel like they're pretty comfortable with making this deal with him.
And the Avs really just played it smart, because it's league-wide news. Like, it doesn't matter what team you follow. Like, the big networks are covering, hey, this goalie tandem look at this save percentage. And if McKenzie Blackwood would have stayed in San Jose all year, he would have got 5.25 wherever. But if this continued with the Avalanche and the save percentage goes up and that tandem starts leading the league, when he becomes a UFA, that number goes up. He goes, he's touching 6.5. Like if he continues like this and quote unquote saves the season for the Colorado Avalanche at the end of the year, that is one pricey goalie hitting the market. And he has gone from just a good story everywhere he goes to saving the Avalanche season and pushing them farther in the playoffs than they've seen in a while. And the Avs are just saying, hey, this is it. Like on the weakest link, they bank right here at 5.25 and cap him at that number before he continues to play much longer and get much pricier.
I wanted to get your take on, because I was getting a lot of comments from people saying like, oh, what's this mean for Mikko? What's this mean for Mikko? And I said on the episode, I don't think it means anything for a Mikko deal. The only thing that it could mean is, hey, Mikko, we got our goalie. You know what I mean? If you want to, come back here and sign an 8-year deal with us for those 5 years of that, we'll have what we expect. We won't have to answer many questions in goal, so that'll be shored up. Just give you more of an incentive to win many, many games here, and hopefully a few titles in that time frame as well.
You know what? I'm going to give you my Mikko answer, and I'm going to give it to you after the break because I think everybody's looking for that answer in the wrong spot.
All right, let's get the break in. We come back, we'll answer that question and get to that trade that the Avs made with Nashville right after this. All right, did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions that you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? I think that's happened to most people. I think we've had a few subscriptions that you didn't even realize that you were still paying for, and Rocket Money makes it easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit for this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Once again, rocketmoney.com/locked-on. All right, so let's get your take on that, because a lot of people were thinking whenever you have any signing or deal or whatever, it's like, but what about? It's the whole whataboutism, and what's this mean for fill in the blank? In this case, Mikko Rantanen. People were kind of hoping like, oh, the Avs are signing somebody. Is Mikko next? Two different players, two different negotiations, but could it have any impact on a Mikko deal?
I don't think there's really that much. I don't understand why everybody's worried about this Mikko thing. I understand it hasn't been done and we want it done, but we're looking at the wrong number 90 on this team. I believe this is waiting on the 92 thing to play out. This feels like the Avalanche right now with all the moves and the trade we're about to get to. This feels like the Avs, they found their sweet spot with this goalie tandem that we just talked about. They feel good. They feel confident, and you could see how night and day this team plays now. You locked up your goalie for the long term. You have your team pretty much set for the rest of the, at least till the trade deadline. You feel great with this team, night in, night out. Doesn't matter the opponent. There has been no worry or fear or freak out when it comes to Mikko, because I feel like they're just waiting to see what we're going to do with this Gabe Landeskog money. Because guess what? Look around you. It's about to be 2025. And we've been talking about this Landeskog return. We're going into a new year, and it still hasn't happened. So something's going on there, and I feel like it's a gentleman's agreement, and we're just waiting to see what we're going to do with this money. Because when that question's answered, then we can look at Mikko and say, okay, we can now do for this much.
The last you heard on Landeskog was actually promising. And I know it's so back and forth with that, but the last thing that Jared Bednar had said, he didn't really give a ton of detail, but it was more promising than the info he gave prior to that one. But yes, they are waiting on that, but they're also waiting on a definite cap number too.
Mm.
And once you get that, I think, if you get those two things in tandem, you're absolutely going to see a Mikko deal probably within 24 hours if those two things happen simultaneously. But yeah, I think because it is not set in stone that this salary cap is at 92 million. It could go up to 97. And that's $5 extra million that you're playing with. That helps too.
Mm-hmm.
So those two things I think you're definitely waiting for. So we'll see what happens with that. The Avs did make another trade over the weekend too. And they're being active here. So, they got in the McKenzie Blackwood deal. Obviously they had to send out Kovalenko. So rather than just kind of, use what you got in your AHL players, they go and I feel like they make a pretty sly move here with Nashville to get Juuso Parssinen in. Yet they have to send out Andres Pavel. They send them a 3rd round pick as well. The Avs inherit a 7th round pick. But I feel like this is a pretty good bit of business here to bring him in. Parssinen is it's not a bad pickup. He's a depth guy. He's a center, and you need, like I said, you needed something to replace Kovalenko. I thought they were just gonna stand pat, kind of just use what they have. But they go out and they make this move to bring in Parson, and I kind of like the deal. I like it.
I do too, because Parson, he actually contributed on the NHL level. Pavel's seen 2 NHL games,
Exactly.
and nothing to show for it. Like you see, Parson has career, like he's over 30 points in 104 career games. Like he's already got points this year. He's seen 15 games of action. And it feels like this is twofold. The Avalanche, yes, this year, stronger. This move, there's another depth guy to add in to this roster that everything feels like it's clicking as it should. So you got another depth guy. But the one little pause and concern I have here, we saw Kovalenko go out. Now you saw Pavel go out. It feels like the Avalanche are new hooking the new breed of Colorado Avalanche. Like nothing's sticking. And a lot of these moves are starting to come with eagles that we know or have been waiting on. So it feels like the window, yes, is looking at like the next 5 years. But I would like to see some refreshing. Like that 7th round pick does not do a thing for me. I would like to see a little bit more freshening up when it comes to the next guys up. Because other than Nabokov, nothing's really, you're not really looking at, just wait till insert name here joins, because Malinsky's here. Well, yeah, you got Callum Ritchie. Yep. But other than that, like you usually have a crop, and the initial crop in the crock pot that we're waiting on to boil, they're already giving up and throwing out. So I like the move for this season, but it also gives me, I'm just looking ahead a little bit, like, where's the next thing?
It's tough. It's tough for the Avalanche. The position they're in is not in a position when you're making moves to bring in prospects. I mean, that's not really what it's just because they're expected to go for, deep runs in the playoffs. It's tough. It's tough to do that. You're of the teams that are sending those guys out, unfortunately. But this is what you're getting in turn, are guys like Parson, who are kind of like those fringe players. And I talked to Ann on Locked On Preds. She's not happy. She's not happy about losing him because she really she feels like he is, the Preds didn't do a good job in bringing out his full potential. And she thinks that he kind of just got into his head a little bit too much because of that and really wasn't given a full opportunity. And I kind of had the comment to her like, hey, this is sometimes what guys need. Come into a different team, a different locker room of a team that wants you, a team that went and traded for you. And sometimes guys really like that. And you see the play that everybody has seen from him is that overtime between the legs roofing goal against Minnesota, and his reaction to that goal is just epic. He just shrugs, just like, yeah, I do that daily. And so you see a little bit of his personality there, but he's got what the Avs don't have a ton of, and that's size. He's 6'3". He's 215 pounds. He's a center. He's pretty decent at faceoffs. Hey, we'll take that.
What's that
I
like?
know. So I think he could fit in nicely with they're not going to overextend him. He's not going to a bad team where they're going to have to put him up on a top 6 line or something like that. You know what I mean? And expect him to do more than what he's capable of doing. I feel like he can settle in nicely in a bottom 6 role and just go out. Hey, play your 10 to 12 minutes, give us everything you got. And because you lost that in Kovalenko, you had to replace it somewhere, and this was the deal into doing that. We'll see if it works. I mean, you never know. Like the Predators are a team of making a lot of moves that don't seem to work yet. So, and when you're a team doing that, like the Avalanche have done with him, you like it on the surface. Let's see if it works out. But I think it was a very sly move by Chris McFarland to go get a guy who's got a lot of potential, a lot. And it just wasn't working in Nashville. So let's see what he can do in Colorado.
No, I love the move. I think it's great, and I think he's going to be great and exactly what the Avalanche need. It's one of those where I'm kind of like 3D chessing it, and I'm stepping back and I'm like, because the Avs are notoriously terrible at developing talent. It's either you have to be otherworldly Hall of Famer Cale Makar or the end. Like, I would like to see something develop because we just seen like hodgepodge and acquire Ranger style. We've seen that bubble burst across the conference, and you can't keep doing this. Like, you can't keep like changing your team by the trade deadline by acquiring pieces. Eventually, you have to develop something to come in behind, or you're going to be having these cap issues every single year. And then trade deadlines are going to be make or break every single year. You got to have a fresh crop coming up. And I don't see that. Like, I just keep looking at in this same year, we lost Kovalenko and Pavo. Like, that kind of stings a little.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to have all of those things work. It's tough to draft and have those guys work out. It's tough to trade for prospects or depth guys and have those guys work. Like, you just want to, you're going to continue to make moves. That's the position the Avalanche are in. And every move you make, you just hope that it works out somehow. And it's tough. That's what's the life of a GM is very difficult. But for this, like, this is just a move the Avs make. I like it. Again, I like it on the surface, but we have to see if it works out. And it's difficult. It's so tough to bat 1,000 being a GM when you draft and trade. It's so tough. And the Avs they make their fair share of deals. And I think a lot of people would think like, hey, on the draft side, it's right in front of you. You're right. They have really 2 guys you're looking forward to in their prospect pool that are, a goalie and a forward, Nabokov and Ritchie. And other than that, it's thin. And then on the trade side, it's like, hey, every trade you make, you always like the trade, but sometimes those don't work out either.
And you don't do yourself any favors when you're constantly in the playoffs and constantly making a push and constantly a cup contender, because you're not getting those incredible draft picks. You're not picking towards the top. You're in the middle towards the bottom where you're really just like, oh, okay. And you're not doing yourself favors. So bringing in higher pick prospects would be nice, but I mean, I'm wishful thinking in a perfect world, but it's just something to keep an eye on.
Well, look what Pavo was. Pavo was an undrafted signing.
Yeah.
So, you drafted him or you signed him because he was not drafted, and then you essentially flip him for a 7th-round pick and a player who has NHL games.
Yep.
Not a terrible bit of business.
Not at all.
And I like Pavel. I think he's I thought he did okay, but let's get real. Like, he was never going to be an everyday NHLer.
No, the bright lights got to him.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. All right. Let's get to some questions here that we had. Let's go back to the goalie situation, because we had a question that said, what is a realistic time span for the lumberyard for Wedgwood and Blackwood? And this question was actually sent in to us before the extension. So I don't know if you get a little bit more clarity now. You do get more clarity with it's really how many of those 5 years that Blackwood's going to be here is Wedgwood going to be here? Tough question.
We say let's be realistic here. Like, I know we have him signed for 5. Let's be real and say it might be 2.5, 3, maybe 4.
Why, you think they'll get rid of him?
You never
playing well.
You're playing well, but does Wedgwood flirt with you go back and forth on the 1A, 1B? I'm just saying, I'm just throwing out hypotheticals, because the question was what this window looks like. And I feel like you're going, as long as they play like this, I would say keep them both for 5. But because
I don't know how Scott Wedgwood, he's already in his 30s, isn't he? Let me see.
But if you're coming in as a backup role, like, you're limiting him.
32. He's 32.
So,
but you can't. The thing is, like, you got to keep Nabokov in mind. So you're not going to keep.
We got Blackwood for 5. Let's just round it out, keep it clean. 5 on Blackwood. Let's say 2.
Well, you have Wedgwood for next year, so this is going to be your tandem for next year. Both those guys are signed. Obviously, Blackwood is, but yes, Wedgwood has 1 more year left. So I don't feel like, and I said this on the weekend episode, like, a lot hinges on when Nabokov comes here.
Yeah. And he said he's getting ready to sign after the season.
Yeah. But then somebody said something where, like, oh, that's not entirely true. And this is what we get when you have guys that are over in Russia. It is just this back and forth, and you don't really know they're coming here until, like, say, like, hey, I'm signed, I'll be there next month. So, if all goes well, like, if he is here next year, he's going to be in the AHL, obviously. You go with the lumberyard next year, no matter what. You might, I think Wedgwood, maybe he gets another year after that. Maybe he's a backup. You're not going to sign a backup to a 5-year deal.
No,
you're not going to do that. So you just go 1 year at a time with him. So you got him for next year. If it goes well, just sign him for a 1-year contract. And then that's probably it. I think that is the maximum lifespan for Scott Wedgwood with the Avalanche, is after this year, 2 more years. And then you start bringing Nabokov in. So to answer the question, I will say, and not including this year, obviously, maximum, I think 2 more years of the lumberyard would be my answer to that.
I will say it's conditional on Nabokov being as advertised.
Right. That too. That's the other part of but you're not going to know that until, he comes over here, and even if he plays well in the AHL, that's not the NHL.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with your timeline. It's with an asterisk if Nabokov is Nabokov.
Yeah. So then if you get Wedgwood for 2 years past this year, that's cutting into 2 years of Blackwood, and then you'll have 3 years of Nabokov kind of backing up Blackwood, and then we reevaluate after those 3 years. We'll see how it goes. It's set up nicely for the Avs. It really is, if it all goes according to plan. So we'll see. We had a couple questions about Jared Bednar, and it's kind of like the same old of injuries, goaltending issues. Now that is all panned out, and he's got this team still doing very well in the standings. We had a number of questions of, does anybody notice that? And does he finally get a Jack Adams? That ship has sailed for me. I will never feel like Jared Bednar will get the respect he deserves in terms of an award of the best coach in the league. So I don't think he needs that award for us to feel like he is one of or the best coach in the league. but it would be nice for just like we were saying last year. It would be nice for Nathan McKinnon to finally get an MVP, and he got it. It's nice. Same thing for Jared Bednar. I think it's a travesty that he has not won one. And when you are around as long as he has been around, you get forgotten about. And the Jack Adams has turns into an award for new coaches in new cities that suddenly are the best in the league, even though they got fired the year before. Go figure.
This will never, Bednar is never getting a Jack Adams. I'm going to ruin it for everybody. It's not going to be this year. You know why? You have 2 of the top 5 in points in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to point back to, of course, with this goalie tandem, with this save percentage, how could you not be winning this many games? And when you have Nathan McKinnon having the year he's having, and Mikko Rantanen on a contract year having the year he's having, of course, this isn't Bednar. This is just the Avalanche being the Avalanche. It's the same old song and dance every single year. Yep. This ain't the year for Bednar.
Yep. We also got, because of the trade, and the Blackwood extension, and the Avs are making moves and just being active in December. We had a number of questions on, are they done? And one question was, what are your thoughts on a big trade? And the names they threw out there, Casey Middlestat or Val Nichushkin. And that was the one only time Nichushkin got brought up. Middlestat got brought up in a handful of questions. And look, people, like, they just signed him too. Don't forget about that. Casey Middlestat is, I feel like he's turning into the new Sam Girard unfairly. I think is he going off the wall of like putting up ungodly stats? No, I had one person ask, should we trade Middlestat, go get Trocheck, or bring Kadri back? Well, Middlestat has more points than Kadri right now. You know what I mean? Like, he's on track for what you want a 2C to get in points. Like, everybody remembers the last year of Nazem Kadri with the Avalanche, where it was, what was it? Was it like 84 points or something he had? Like, that was way over what any expectation was. That's way over expectation for a 2C. Your 2Cs come in around 50, 60 points a year. He's kind of on track for that. Like, is he playing like he had a massive rut, and I think it's still going on, where he hasn't scored a goal in a very long time. You want that to end. I completely understand that. Do you want him to see him score more goals? Sure. But he's a dynamic player. He's good with the puck on his stick. He finds passing lanes. That's his bread and butter, is facilitating. Middlestat's not going anywhere, people. Like, we got to stop. I feel like we got to stop this whole Casey Middlestat thing now, because you were looking for a 2C for a long time, and you did find him. That's just my side of it. I don't know where you stand.
All right, let me just, okay. I'm just going to speak real to everybody out there. The Colorado Avalanche are 8-2 in their last 10. They're on a 4-game winning streak. Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to trade Nichushkin and Middlestat out? Why are we doing that? Can't you just enjoy your Avalanche are actually a good hockey team again? Can we not do that? Can we not sit here and say, you know what? I love this team. Is that hurt? Does that hurt? I said it. I didn't pass away. No, you can do it. You could say, I love the Colorado Avalanche and be happy with this roster top to bottom. Middlestat isn't playing how you want. Nobody's going to play to Kadri levels. It just doesn't happen. That season was a fluke. And guess what? He hasn't been there since. You're chasing ghosts. And it's not going to get better if you bring him in here. You're not going to get Nas of the burgundy and blue Nas. It doesn't change. He's getting older. It's not going to happen. Middlestat, he's not asked to win the game. He's not asked to put, like, you're getting Arturi Lehkonen hat tricks, and you don't need to put up these performances. I don't know who's asking these lofty benchmark goals for Casey Middlestat. He's doing what he's asked to do. He's not a problem out there. Granted, he's not showing up on the score sheet, but he's not caught like to the Sam Girard, like we would isolate every time a puck would hop over his stick and say, that's the reason right there. Find me a reason Casey Middlestat should leave other than, well, he's not scoring. He's not giving me 2-3 points a night. No, he's doing his job. He's facilitating that line, which has been constantly in flux all year. If nobody's keeping score on that, leave the man alone.
Yeah, I mean, it's the ebbs and flows of a season. Like, yeah, I mean, he again, the goal scoring, you'd like to see him do a little bit more of that. But like they're winning games. They're winning games, and not from top to bottom at any given point during the season. Not every single player is going to be aces. So you had Nathan McKinnon go through a rut. You got Cale Makar has done it. Mikko has done it multiple times throughout his career. It happens. And I think maybe because he's newer than these guys, and you're kind of expecting, oh, well, we've seen those guys come out of those ruts. Yeah. Maybe because he's newer, we just get this like, nope, not working, get rid of him. No. I like Casey Middlestat. I think he's good for this team, and I think he's doing. Do you want him to be doing better? Sure, but is he doing poorly? No. Is he doing Chris Kreider type of? I mean, that's the stuff where you're like, okay, we need to maybe like reevaluate this, but not what Casey Middlestat's doing. So
just buy another shirt, get another hat, say, I can't wait for this team in 2025, and enjoy your Colorado Avalanche, for goodness sake.
Yeah. The last one I want to do is someone sent me a message about there's some talk about teams offering for McDavid. I haven't seen any of that. Maybe it's one of those behind the scene things that teams are constantly calling Edmonton just maybe to test the waters. Hey, anything on McDavid? I have heard zero that Edmonton wants to get rid of Connor McDavid. But this person asked, what is your cup or bust trade package if he were available? And I'm going to force you to make a trade. I know you're not a Connor McDavid fan. I am. But I'm going to force you to make a trade. Don't say like you wouldn't take him. But all I will say is this. And maybe I'm going back on my word here right now, but I wouldn't do this. Okay, I would not. I'm just throwing this out there for conversation. If Edmonton came to Colorado and said like, "Hey, McDavid is on the block. What's your offer? What's your best offer?" My only offer would be a 1-for-1 of Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid. That is it. Like, what else do you deserve? What else would you want? If I'm Colorado and it'd be like, okay, like we'll offer you Nathan McKinnon a 1-for-1, and they say no to that, I'd be like, what else do you want? Like, you want first round pick? No, I'm not giving you first round pick. I mean, I know he's worth 5 first round picks, but we're giving you someone that has everything that McDavid has in terms of MVPs, but he also has he's also a Stanley Cup pedigree, and he's continuing at the top of the league in points. Like he is. We talk about it all the time on this show, Kyle, that the gap between McDavid and everybody else, I feel, has shrunk. And that guy that's nipping at his heels is Nathan McKinnon. So that, I mean, what else do you want? Do you want another top player of ours? No, I would never do. Where those two guys are right now, to me, it's a 1-for-1 deal. Again, I wouldn't do it, but that would be my response to Edmonton. What else do you want? What else do you deserve to get right now for him if we're giving you Nathan McKinnon?
See, if Edmonton came knocking on the door, and I don't care if you want me to make a package, it's not going to happen because it's going to be one of those, what do you want for Connor McDavid? And I'm going to tell Edmonton, we have a Connor McDavid at home, and his name is Nathan McKinnon. Right. And guess what? And he's better. And he's better. Statistically, he's better. I don't care if he's won all these individual awards. Guess what? It doesn't matter. Dan Marino of the NHL is not going to matter. And if Edmonton says, what do you want for Connor McDavid? I'll say, here's a Bubby Brister jersey. If that's not going to do anything for you, go call the Kings, because that's where he's going to end up. And all these other NHL teams that are out there trying to make up these wonderful packages, just sit on your hands until his deal is up and just watch him go to the Los Angeles Kings, because Connor McDavid has a Gretzky complex and he must follow that career path. But Connor McDavid hasn't won. Like, I get it. He got all the skill in the world. He does all yada, yada, yada. he hasn't won anything. He hasn't. And they're not a force in the playoffs. It's a Connor McDavid show. The team is made to make Connor McDavid better, not to win the Oilers Stanley Cups. And that's what's different about Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon. Nathan McKinnon, we're not building teams to make Nathan McKinnon a Stanley Cup champion. We're winning games as the Colorado Avalanche, and that's the difference. It's why I don't want Connor McDavid.
It's crazy how just pretty much every other team would have to put together like a package of players and picks and prospects. You know, and for the Avalanche, I feel like they're the one team that could be like, we'll give you one guy because he's on his level. And then if Edmonton would be like, okay, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? No, I think we're happy with who we got.
No, I'm
dangle the carrot.
I will take Nathan McKinnon over Connor McDavid every single day because of what I see when it comes to teamwork and the way he approaches the game compared to Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid likes to make Connor McDavid look good. Nathan McKinnon will do anything to make the Colorado Avalanche a better team.
Yeah, I will say this. I really don't think McDavid's going anywhere. I think he's staying right where he is. I don't see it.
Call it now. He's going to the Kings.
I mean, I just don't. Nothing surprises me anymore in sports, especially with players moving teams and stuff like that. But I just feel like he's fine in Edmonton, and they're going to pay him what he wants, and he'll be fine there. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, it's going to wrap it up for today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be discussing this very big game on Tuesday between the Avalanche and the Jets. So tune in for that. So, we'll be back tomorrow. Talk about that. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And you got through another 24 hours where Sidney Crosby is that much closer to becoming a Colorado Avalanche.
Trade him for McDavid.
He's not going to the Kings.